I met my husband through his cousin. He was a co-worker of his cousin was a co-worker of mine in one of the care homes we used to work together in. And he called me up one day and said, "Hey, I haven't seen you for a while, and why don't we go out to dinner with some of our old co-workers?" Well, I thought, okay, that sounds like fun. Life's going kind of good. I can afford to go out to eat. So we went out to eat, and it was a setup. There were no co-workers. It was his cousin and Jerome, who would end up being my husband later. I was not having it. But, I was polite, and so he didn't know what to order. We went to a Mexican restaurant. Of course, I knew what I wanted, and I ordered it, and as soon as it came, I put hot sauce all over it because obviously the restaurant can't make it hot enough for me to eat. So Jerome is Filipino, so he's not so familiar with what Mexican food is. Well, he is now, but then he wasn't. So he copied me. We ordered the same thing, and he did the same thing. As soon as I was done with the hot sauce, he grabbed it and looked at how much was on mine, and he put the same on his. Oh my goodness. In like less than 5 minutes, his face was beet red, bordering on purple. Like he had sweat and tears, and he was like choking on it. And so it's a Mexican restaurant. We have Coronas, so he started drinking Corona real fast to try to kill the burn. Alcohol just makes it worse. So poor guy, I wasn't very impressed, to say the least. So I told his cousin outside, "Yeah, don't do that again," and no, he can't call me. So we met again about a year and a half later. We ran across each other at another job, and he learned a little bit more how to appropriately behave and things like that. So he was like, "Well, I understand I kind of scared you off, but we could just be friends, right?" So we started being friendly instead. And one thing led to another, and about a year after that, he asked me to marry him. And we got married in June 2006. So after we got married, we moved to a bigger place in San Mateo. We still don't have our own house yet. We're still building it up, but we went from a very small dormitory size room to a room and a house where we could actually walk around. And it wasn't such a dangerous neighborhood anymore. So that was nice. And he helped me to get through my nursing school and a couple fairly big kidney infections and medical complications. And I ended up enrolling in an LVN program, which on the East Coast is a LPN, licensed practical nurse. Here in California, it's a licensed vocational nurse. Basically, it's a nurse who went to school for 2 years and doesn't have a bachelor's degree yet. So that's my halfway point, CNA, LVN, and then I'm going to finish to the RN. And I went to the LVN program in South San Francisco. I graduated in February 2009. During that time, I went to school for 8 hours during the day, and I would work 8 hours after school, Monday through Friday. So I had 16-hour days for 18 months. It was pretty hard. After I graduated, I ended up with kidney failure. I pushed my body to the max, and it couldn't take it. So I was hospitalized after that, but I graduated with honors, and I was working at the Veterans Hospital. I got hired at the Veterans Hospital as a student nurse. Before I had gotten into the nursing program, I had applied to a newspaper ad for the Veterans Hospital. I was always wondering when I was growing up, how am I going to take care of myself, because it's very expensive to have these kinds of disabilities and need to always have medical supplies, and unpredictable if you're going to have a medical emergency or how often you're going to need to see the doctor. Average young adult doesn't have to think about that. They live at home with their mom and dad and often have leftover insurance until they're 21 and hardly ever have to go to the doctor or have an emergency. Well, I had to think about that. So I figured I want to be a nurse. I've always wanted to do that. So I need to figure out how to get in a hospital, not a nursing home, but a hospital where I can have benefits. So when I saw the ad for the VA, I was like, oh God, please let me get it. Please let me get it. That's perfect. That's a federal job. And I was so shocked when I got it. It took about 3 months for them to call me back. I had kind of given up, like, whatever. I'll try again some other time when I have more experience. But they called me. And they interviewed me. I got lost because I'd never been to such a big hospital before, but they didn't mind, I explained. And I was afraid that I was going to have a physical. But because I was being hired as a student, I didn't have to have a physical, so I didn't have to explain. So I kept my health problems to myself, and I worked hard all the way through my nursing program. After I graduated, they hired me on as full-time in the cardiology department, which is where I work currently. Right now, I'm still working in cardiology full-time with benefits, and I'm planning on transitioning to a nursing care unit because currently I'm working in the clinical setting, and I went to school to be a nurse, so I want to do more nursing tasks. So I'm trying to transition either to the ER or the outpatient surgery center. So I think that'd be very exciting. During my job though at the VA, I come across a lot of veterans who are older, from older wars like Vietnam and the Gulf Wars during the 90s, but also I'm coming across a lot of peers my own age who are coming back from Iraq, Afghanistan, all over the place with this war on terror that we've been having for a couple years. And a lot of them are coming back as amputees, brain damage, physical disfigurements, and they're ashamed. And you don't know how many have come just from the spinal cord injury unit who have a colostomy or ileostomy or urostomy, and they're so ashamed of it because imagine they went to war a healthy 18, 19, 20-year-old, and they came back the same age with the same dreams and mindsets, but their body doesn't match what they thought that was supposed to be at this age. So they come to see me in my clinic for their cardiac workups, and they don't want to disrobe for me. They don't want to take off their shirt. They don't want to put on a gown. They don't want me to see their chest to put my EKG electrodes, because that means I'm going to see their ostomy. And I'm a young girl and I'm their age, and a lot of them are ashamed, and it feels good to be able to say, hey, don't worry about it. You don't have to be embarrassed. I had the same thing. And they look at me like, yeah, right. You're just saying that to make me feel comfortable. I'm like, no, I've had it my whole life. You don't need to be embarrassed. And they're amazed, and they feel more comfortable. So I like doing that. I get to give back. Even though I'm not healthy enough to serve my country in that way, I can take care of those who come back and make them feel more at ease and see that you can be happy and have a good life and have a career. Just because you have an ostomy or you're in a wheelchair or something doesn't mean that your life is over. One of the ways that I got through my nursing program that helped me get into the job that I'm in now is I wrote, you don't know how many scholarship essays. If I heard about a scholarship, I applied for it. Nursing school is expensive. The program I just finished was about $22,000, and that was only for a year and a half, so if you can imagine that. So one of the things I would write about in my essays was how I've overcome a lot in my life and how I, figured out how to get from point A to point B and manage everything all together. And one of the things I came up with was, there's a lot of things in my life that I wasn't able to control, but I could decide what to do with them. I could decide, am I going to sit back and say, darn, all this stuff happened to me, sucks for me, I'm just going to sit here and wait for somebody to take care of it. Well, that's not going to happen. It's just me. There's no mom and dad to go home and cry to. I have to, suck it up and just do it. So one of the things that came out of my essays was, you can't always control what you're given in life, but you can control what you decide to do with it. So basically that means that you can sit back and feel sorry that this happened to you, or you have this, or things aren't going right. Or you can think, how can I make this better? I can't change what happened to me, but how do I make this better? How do I move on? How do I get to where I want to be? And you do it. You just don't think about it. You work hard. You might mess up, but you keep trying until you get where you want to go. One of the reasons I decided I wanted to be a nurse at an early age, around 6 or 7, is, well, first of all, I wanted to be a doctor. And then I found out I had to go to school for 10 years, and then some more years, and then some more after that, and I figured, that's not going to happen. I don't like school that much. But second of all, I wanted to be a nurse because when I was growing up, obviously my home life was terrible. But when I go to the hospital to have my procedures, or to have surgeries, or to recover from infections, they were the nicest people ever. I got to have food, I got to drink whatever I wanted, I got to watch TV, I got to play with toys and see other kids, and people would visit me, and people were so nice to me. That didn't happen a lot. It only happened when I was in the hospital, and I decided I wanted to grow up and be like those nurses that were at Packard who were so nice to me. One nurse in particular, her name is Petey. She's actually been my nurse since I was born. She remembers my mother and my grandmother very well, and she remembers me being a small preemie, one of those small babies you can hold in your hand. But she says I've always been a feisty one too. I've given her some good chases, trying not to get an IV or some nasty medicine, but Petey's taken very good care of me, and worked very hard to make sure that I got good care throughout my life, from the time I was born to the time I was 5 and 6, fighting for my life, up until my surgeries through 18 until now. She's still one of my favorite nurses and one of the people that I'm very grateful to have in my life. Petey and her partner Jack stood in as my mom and dad at my wedding and gave me away. And even though I'm not Petey's biological daughter, the bond is there, and we mean a lot to each other, and I'm very happy to have her in my life. Had I not had the disabilities that I have and needed such extensive care at Packard, I don't think I would have found somebody like Petey to have in my life.